Good evening. I'm Lou Young. Ralph Penza is off tonight.
And I'm Perry Peltz. He was best known for his work on Fantasy Island, but in real life, actor Herve Villechaize was plagued by health problems, legal problems, and problems finding work. And tonight, Villechaize is dead after apparently committing.
I'm standing now in the pulpit of the Little Brown Church in the San Fernando Valley on Coldwater Canyon. And this little church is non-denominational. This little church is always open, which is really sweet because most other churches are locked during the daytime. And this is where Ronald and Nancy Reagan were married in March of 1952. It's also where I think over 1,200 weddings have been performed here. It's also where a little tattoo from Fantasy Island, when he died, cremated, his little funeral service. His little funeral service was held here too. So it's a cute little church. As you can see, it's really quite sweet. And I don't know, it's nice that something like this is still here. I was about to say this is a nice quiet street in North Hollywood, California, the San Fernando Valley, but we're not flight path, and well, it's Friday afternoon, so there's a lot of traffic going on around here. But I want to show you this house coming up on the left, which was the last home of Hervé Villechaize, who played Tattoo on the TV show Fantasy Island. It was September 4th of 1993. Hervé was living actually in this house in the corner. When he expired in the backyard. It's a cute little house. I'm surprised that it's still standing. It's like one of these neighborhoods that they're knocking down houses, but it's still here. He actually did it in the backyard of this house.
Hervé was born in France in 1943. He was the youngest of 4 sons and the only one to be born with dwarfism. A talented artist, he came to Los Angeles in 1964 and found work as an artist. He was quite talented as a painter and a photographer. He also acted, and because of his unusual appearance, occasionally he modeled. Like a lot of starving actors, he wasn't doing well and began living in his car, he claimed, and working as a rat catcher's assistant in South Central Los Angeles. A few TV and movie roles came around, but his first big break happened when he was cast as Nick Nack in the James Bond film The Man with the Golden Gun, starring Roger Moore. Roger Moore didn't think much of Hervé, actually. He called him a maniac for the ladies. He said he had a lust for the ladies that was unnatural. And he said during that filming, he engaged as many as 35 women for hire. Hervé did confide with Roger Moore, and he said whenever he stayed at a hotel, he could never get a room above the first floor. And when Roger Moore asked him why, Hervé said it was because he couldn't reach the buttons in the elevator. A few TV and film roles followed, including a stint as the legs of Oscar the Grouch on Sesame Street whenever they had to show Oscar actually physically moving himself. But his big break, huge break, was when he was cast on the TV show Fantasy Island. The show ran from 1977 to 1984, and Hervé was in 132 of its 154 episodes as Tattoo, the assistant to the maestro of the island, Mr. Rourke, played by Ricardo Montalban. Now, Fantasy Island was filmed on a backlot, of course, but the exterior scenes were filmed at the Los Angeles County Arboretum in Arcadia, California, and the famous Queen Anne cottage that was built in 1885. You can still visit the location, and it really is spectacular. And if you're feeling really adventurous, you can bring along your Fantasy Island board game and play in the shadow of the Queen Anne cottage. Now, during the filming, Hervé got quite a reputation as a ladies' man. Actually, probably for sure, not probably, but for sure, would be considered a predator nowadays. He regularly hassled female guests, and he was quite difficult with the producers. Eventually, Hervé became quite arrogant and insisted that he be treated the same as Ricardo Montalban, exactly the same accommodations, exactly the same salary, and people just had it with him. And over the salary dispute, which they were never going to give, they were never going to give in on, Hervé quit the show. And he was replaced during the last season with an actor called Christopher Hewitt, who is best known as Mr. Belvedere. Now, there weren't a whole lot of roles that are worthy of speaking of after Fantasy Island ended. He was in a movie called The Forbidden Zone, where he plays a very active king that that wants to make the moves on anything that moves, basically. And during that time, he was in a relationship with the insane actress Susan Terrell. They were together for 2 years, apparently, and she was a piece of work. She was very her. There was no one like her, that's for sure. The acting parts dried up completely. It got to the point where he was just spoofing the tattoo thing from Fantasy Island on television commercials.
The plan. No. The cinnamon. No. The chocolate.
Dunkin' Donuts introduces new minis.
His last acting credit was in 1992 on The Ben Stiller Show, where he plays himself and portraying a situation that probably came up in his case on a regular basis.
She's so beautiful. I'm glad I met you. It really makes my night.
Excuse me. You're Herve Villechaize.
That's right.
You played that too, right?
Right.
You blow me away.
Thank you very much.
No. I'm telling you, what you do is really unbelievable.
I'm glad you like it.
No. I'm telling you, I really get what you do. The whole thing, ringing the bell in the three-piece suit, Fantasy Island. I love it.
Really kind.
No, I really respect it. You know, it's got a very special center to it. I think it's beautiful.
Thanks.
Do me a favor, give me one, huh?
You what?
Come on, we all want to hear it. Come on, just one.
You mean that?
We want to hear it. Come on, right? Come on, do it.
All right. The plan.
Ah, that's great. That's wonderful. That's amazing. All right, now say, welcome to Fantasy Island, huh?
But not my line.
No, come on, do it anyway.
No.
He was married 2 times, but he was very well known as a womanizer. And one of his wives in 1982 sued him for aiming a weapon in his direction. Hervé called the suit sick, ridiculous, upsetting, and immoral. There was another incident in 1983 where he got into an argument with someone and demanded that this person leave his house. And the guy drove after Hervé Villechaize twice, aimed his car at Hervé, trying to hit him, and the actor had to jump out of the way to avoid being hit. Finally, Villechaize pulled an automatic and fired 8 times over the vehicle, so clearly he wasn't unfamiliar with weapons. Also in 1985, Hervé was arrested at the St. Joseph's Medical Center in Burbank. When he walked in smelling of alcohol, his speech was slurred with a weapon and claimed that someone was after him and he was getting threatening phone calls. He was released after posting a $1,000 bail. Now, Hervé was plagued with health issues. In 1994, he nearly died after a bout with pneumonia. It was really touch and go, his agent said at the time, and his agent also said he was really surprised that Hervé made it, but he did. Now, because of his bad business decisions and lavish lifestyle, and frankly his attitude, this all contributed to him not getting a whole lot of work for his last few years of life. Now, at his tallest, he was 3'11", and since he was born with dwarfism, he was plagued with health issues. He was continually sick, breathing issues because his lungs were small and underdeveloped. He had ulcers, gastritis, and a spastic colon. In addition, his heart was enlarged, and his curvature of the spine was getting worse. He was also getting muscle cramps in his neck and migraines. He lived in this house with his girlfriend of 4 years, Kathy Self. A few days before he died, he wrote in a diary, "I'm exhausted. I feel dizzy. I'm getting more depressed. I have a skin rash all over. I'm cramping and I'm out of breath. I'm shaky and weak. I'm fed up with the pain. Medications make me woozy and disoriented most of the time." Hervé said he never got more than 3 or 4 hours of sleep at a time. He said he can't lie down properly because he only has one functioning lung, and he has to set his alarm several times during the night to take his medication. Hervé, for the last 4 years of his life, was living with his girlfriend, Kathy Self, in this home in North Hollywood. I had the opportunity to interview Kathy via email a few years ago, so the recollections you're going to hear in just a moment are from her directly. On the night that Hervé died, he and Kathy attended a screening of The Fugitive at the Directors Guild in Hollywood. He and Kathy Self had dinner afterwards at a restaurant near their house. When they got home, Kathy went to sleep, and he said he wasn't coming to bed right away. He says, "You go to bed, Kathy. I have a few things to do." Kathy went to sleep, and in the meantime, Hervé disabled every phone in the house. My initial write-up about Hervé wasn't 100% factual, I guess, and Kathy Self, Hervé's girlfriend, reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to ask her any questions. So we had a email conversation going on for quite a while, and she was providing me with information. Kathy was a witness to this. This was a horrific event in her life. The person she was in love with was deciding to leave in this way, and she was involved in it. She offered to take on the details, to correct the misinformation, and to make clear the true information by answering my questions. Hervé had a tape recorder, and he placed the recorder in a potted plant on the patio. Then he sat on the opposite side of the patio near the back wall, well away from the house. On the recording, there's a huge explosion, the sound of broken glass, and then you can hear him swear. There's about a 10-second pause, and then another shot. Kathy had been asleep, but she was awoken by a shot and glass breaking. She ran out onto the patio, and she had trouble seeing things because it was dark. Now, Kathy herself told me, "I believe that he recorded the entire episode to protect me in case the police might think I might be guilty of something." Kathy said the recording begins with him going out onto the patio, saying he has pillows in hopes it'll muffle the sound. He says what's on his mind, how he loves everyone, and how it's no one's fault. He tried to hang on, but the pain was just too great. He says that I, meaning Kathy, me, knew what to do, and to let me handle everything. And he was leaving everything to me. Then he said, quote, "Now I just pull this," quote, and you hear the shot. He grunts, then there's a pause, and then he says, "Well, I guess I'll just have to wait." That's when on the tape you hear Kathy come outside screaming and ask him what happened. He says, "It hurts. I'm dying." And I say, "No, you're not," and I go to call the paramedics. Luckily, Kathy told me, he didn't remove the batteries from the cell phone, so she was able to use that to call paramedics. And you hear her call 911 on the recording. The operator told her to find the wound and apply pressure to slow the bleeding. She opened his robe and saw the wound. She turned him over and saw that the wound was much bigger on the backside. The paramedics arrived, and before they placed him on the gurney to go to the hospital, he'd passed away. He was taken to the emergency room and pronounced dead, then taken to the medical examiner. It was September 4th, 1993, and he was 50 years old. What you're going to see now are very rare. I don't think anyone has ever had these pictures of the inside of the house. In 1999, my friends Terry Rios and Sarah Weathers visited the home. You can see in this photograph was a duplex, and Hervé and Kathy were renting the part on the right. The bottom arrow represents the front of the house, or where the garage is, and the arrow on the very top shows the backyard where that cinder block wall is located. Just by sheer luck, the residents of the home, who were renting the home at the time, generously allowed them to come inside and take photographs of the house. And there are still holes in the kitchen cabinets from the first discharge. And Kathy Self confirmed that those are 100% legitimate. This was a few years after Hervé died, so they were still there. Now, Hervé was on the opposite side of the patio near that brick wall in the back, well away from the house. The first discharge went through the glass patio door, shattering it, and it rattled around the house. My own friend E.J. Fleming described it like a BB in a tin can. It went on a trajectory through the kitchen, causing holes that you can see in these cabinets. Thankfully, Kathy wasn't awake at the time. It passed through these cabinets and ultimately landed in the shower stall of the master bathroom behind the kitchen. That's where Kathy found it, and when I corresponded with her, she said she still had that in her possession. The next day, Kathy found a note that Hervé left on the desk next to an $11 residual check for his appearance on Taxi. It's practically illegible, but the probate file, they did a pretty good job trying to decipher what he wrote. I have to do what's right. At 6 years old, I knew there was no place for me. Please know Kathy has the right of attorney over my health, and my belongings belong to Kathy's self, including the right to a script and movie and writings, etc. I love you all too much. It's one of just of my problems. Mom, my brothers, you didn't exist to my heart. You never care about only yourselves since 1955. You remember? Kathy did her best. You didn't, so she deserves everything. No one knew my pain for 40 years or more. I have to do it outside. Less mess. It looks like at 2:30 a.m. he wrote, am scared after I set up everything. Phone cut off, etc. Then at 3 a.m. he says, I can't miss with a dumb bullet. Haha. Never one knew my pain for 40 years or more. Have to do it outside. Less mess. Very good. Small in. Big out. So I believe that's the wound he's referring to. It goes in a very small hole, and it makes a very large hole when it exits. Hervé wanted his body donated to science, so he was transferred to the UCLA Medical Center to a doctor who specialized in dwarfism. There, they removed skin and cartilage samples, which is all they needed. His body was then released to the Neptune Society, where he was cremated, and Kathy herself said she scattered 100% of his remains at sea. Now, there was a funeral for Hervé at the Little Brown Chapel. It was put on, Kathy says, for self-promotion by a wannabe actress whose name I have forgotten. Hervé's ashes were not in attendance. I had them and dumped 100% into the ocean. Hearing about his death, Ricardo Montalban released the statement, I considered his contribution to Fantasy Island as one of the keys to the tremendous success that show enjoyed. Over the years, Hervé was involved with several charities, children's charities, animal charities, and my friend Nick met Hervé once in the Magic Castle in Hollywood, the club that's for magicians and their guests. And he was sat next to Hervé at dinner, and he said that Hervé was very passionate about LIGA International, which offers medical care to people who can't afford it. And he spent a good deal of time talking about it. He also presented Nick with this business card, which Nick then presented to me. So this is an addition to our archives. Thank you to Nick for doing that. Lastly, one of my favorite places around the Los Angeles area used to be the Movieland Wax Museum in Buena Park, south of Los Angeles, not too far from Knott's Berry Farm and Disneyland. And outside, they had sort of a mini kind of Grauman's Chinese theater with footprints and handprints of stars who've come out, usually to dedicate their own wax statue. And I was able to take a little tour of that before it was removed. I don't know what happened to Hervé's footprints, but it's a real shame that they just allowed that to happen. So on that happy note, I'll say thank you to those who subscribe to my Patreon page. If you don't mind, I have a link in the description to the video below. For a couple of bucks a month, I post exclusive content. I usually post videos ahead of time, and I correspond with everyone who is on that page. So feel free to join my Patreon page. I'd be so grateful. So thank you all for watching. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your attention. And never forget.
Smiles, everyone, smiles!
You heard me.